you're gonna break into. On you.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat your children. We're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiuri, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. No, not me. That was Mike Tyson, all right? Hope you're doing all right today, whether you're watching live this morning or maybe you're watching a replay. I don't know. Hope you're doing right, man. We got a busy show scheduled for today. Close out the week. We got a lot of good stuff coming up next week. And, well, let me just get this out of the way. The show's being brought to you in part by Kemper and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Kemper and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099, 845-221-4099. The show's also being brought to you in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in my Verona, New York. Just Verona, New York. Great show going on June 7th, which happens to be the International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend that Friday. So when you go hanging around the Hall of Fame grounds, make sure you plan on visiting the Turning Stone and check out a great card that's going to be going on there. It's also going to be on Showtime, so I'm going to be ringside for that event, and I hope you show up, and you better get tickets now. And you can get tickets real easy by visiting our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click the fight poster, which is the very first one on the right-hand side. You can't miss it. And get yourself some tickets. Then drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Let me know where you're sitting. And I'll tell you how we can hook up, man. I want to meet all you guys. And yeah, I'm going to be stuffing my face at the Carmen Basilio Sausage and Pepper tent at the International Boxing Hall of Fame Friday. right around lunchtime. And then I'm going to swing over to the Turning Stone and get ready for the fight. So make sure you swing by and say hello, either at the Sausage and Pepper tent or at the fights. Hopefully you're going to get some tickets at the fights. Anyway, man, do we got a lot of stuff going on coming up for you for the show. First and foremost, make a programming note. You know, the big cheese. I won't mention his name, Brad, but gave me the go-ahead. We're going to be changing our time. The live broadcast will be beginning Monday, June 3rd, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., baby. That's right. You guys have been asking for it, and now you got it. So, listen, there's going to be no excuses. Everybody that listens at a different time, well, we want you part of the show, and we want you to tune in live, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on BillyCBoxing.com. And it's also, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. It's 5 to 7. It's 5 to 7 p.m. 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. From 5:30 to 7, we're going to get the Fight Now audience joining us. But we're going to be on 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time starting Monday, June 3rd. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough getting old, trust me. But 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, June 3rd, so make sure you mark it down. Now, I've been telling you guys about the new Talk to Me Man show, which everybody loves. I mean, we got so many compliments on that show, and it's basically, if you're new to this show and you don't know what I'm talking about, because we haven't aired it in a couple of weeks because of the special fight week that we had, and then some scheduling issues and stuff like that. Plus, we revamped the whole idea how we do the show. LDL TV is now producing the show, and therefore we got a lot of bells and whistles that I think you're going to love, like having multiple people on the video screen at the same time, receiving multiple calls from listeners at the same time if we want, all kinds of great stuff that we're going to be introducing on Monday. That's right, the very next Talk to Me Man show will be taking place on Monday, and it's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time right here on BillyCBoxing.com. You'll also be able to catch it on our YouTube page and on LDL TV. So very easy to catch the Talk to Me Man show beginning on Monday. And then we got a whole bunch of other stuff. I talked to my man, Tony Treem, and Tony Treem and I are going to be doing a heavyweight spotlight next week, so make sure you stick around for that. Also, one other thing I want to throw by you guys, MMA. Now, I know a lot of you guys deal with MMA, but I never have, all right? But I think we're going to start to introduce a little bit of MMA, not on this show, but maybe on our website. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. We're thinking about dedicating a section to just MMA news, and we'll go from there. What's your thoughts on that? Drop me an email, Billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. And while you're at it, for any of the longtime listeners, I'm shocked that you don't remember who Cecil was. I got a couple of emails, and they're trying to lie their way into a T-shirt courtesy of KOFantasyBoxing.com, but it wasn't that, all right? So who was Cecil? If you know who Cecil was, drop me an email, Billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I will send you out a T-shirt courtesy of KOFantasyBoxing.com. Our poll question is up. It's interesting. The question is these guys kill me. The question is who would you rather see fight Floyd Mayweather next? And by the way, the Talk to Me Man show is driven by you. So if you are new to this show and you don't know about the Talk to Me Man show, it's driven by you. You have to call in. The phone lines will be open for the whole duration of the show, as well as email. So if you have an email that's long-winded, or you have a comment, thought, question, concern, whatever, email talktomeman@BillyCBoxing.com. Talk to me, man, at BillyCBoxing.com. Now, we do have a couple of emails that were sent to this show for the mailbag, but they were a little long-winded. So if they're still relevant, we're going to read them on Monday. But anyway, who do you think should fight Mayweather next? Well, we have a poll question out there right now, and here's the skinny. Number one right now, leading Lucas Matthysse at 42%, 42.9%, and tied for second. We have two. There's four choices. Tied for second is Saul Canelo Alvarez and yours truly, Billy C, at 28.6%. That's right. They threw my name in there. And I'm in second place. I got as many votes as Canelo's got, for God's sakes. And no one wants to see Floyd fight Manny. Interesting. This was the fight that was on everybody's lips a couple of years ago. Now, no one would rather see, if they could make the decision who Floyd fights in September, most of you think it should be Lucas Matthysse, which is pretty interesting. Anyway, that's that. So we got that out of the way. I got an email I'm going to read. Then I'm going to read a couple more. We got Marty Mulcahy scheduled to join us in a little bit. See what he thought about the Ledebev fight, plus his thoughts on the big fights from this weekend. I'm going to break down all 6 fights on the Billy C Challenge. We will get to that later in the show. I got some fight results that took place at the IBF convention yet last night. An update on Gary Russell Jr., an update on Guillermo Jones, and what I think is another one of the WBC smokescreens. We'll talk about their World Cup of Boxing in a little bit. You know, isn't it funny? You think about the WBC, and you know, you hear about them criticizing the what do they call it? The World Series of Boxing, what they do. But everything they criticize other people for doing, they actually do. And the criticism is hypocritical because they just want to be in control. It really makes me sick. They're you know, I don't know. I'll get to that in a little bit. But Transistor Man 1 says, this is a really good show. He says, and then he says, UK sub. So I don't know what that is. Maybe he's saying he's from the UK. I don't get that. Really good show, UK sub. I don't get it. But he wants me to know that the Hunchback of Notre Dame was indeed Quasimodo. Yeah, I know. I thought that at first, and then I asked questions, in my Crackerjack staff, who's in the chat room generally, was kind enough to fill me in. Speaking about chat room, if you're listening or watching live right now, make sure you check out the chat room, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click the chat. Be part of the action, and get your thoughts read live on the show. We'll be right back.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Rosselli Enterprises. Rosselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Rosselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RosselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IBO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOBoxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day. Everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching a replay on LDL TV. Glad you could join us. And if you're watching or listening live, make sure you go into the chat room, man. You do have to have a username and password to vote. So you might as well vote on the poll question. Create a username and password real quick. Then use the same username and password and get into the chat room and have some fun in there. Right now, Chatty Factory is in there, hanging out. I'm not going to say what he's doing, but come on in and check it out. Snoop Stock. Was that a new kind of base for a soup or something, man? You get it? Stock? Anyway. Snoop Stock says, Deontay Wilder is served well by his height and reach. The problem with him is that his punches loop so wide, he will get caught. Then we'll see the test of his chin. I have a feeling he'll fall right on his back because he has stilts for legs. I agree with you, Snoop Stock. I agree with you, man. Because, first of all, he's got that weird body. He's got that tall, lanky body that really, when he gets hit, and you're right, those legs are stilts, man. Listen, when you look at a big guy, you look at a Klitschko, and they're proportionate, right? Their chest, the arms, the legs. I mean, they're just big dudes. 6'5", 6'7". What am I talking about? 6'7" for Klitschko. 250 pounds, chiseled, athletic. It's like a superhuman. And you look at Deontay Wilder. Yeah, he's big, but he's got like a skinny chest. You remember Donovan Razor Ruddock? When he was young, he had put on like an extra 100 pounds or something. But when he fought Mike Tyson, he looked kind of like Deontay Wilder. Now of course he's not as big, but compared to Mike Tyson, he looked like that body style. He was a tough guy. I don't think Deontay's too tough. Listen, this is a guy that started boxing late. He got the opportunity for the Olympics. He captured a bronze. So and he signed on with Golden Boy, and more recently with Al Heyman. And the bottom line is this guy's going to get his shot. He's going to make his money. But I agree with Snoop Stock that he's going to get caught. And he's going to go to sleep. And that's why they're coddling him. That's why he's not fighting any real fights. A good fight would be him against the Tyson Fury. I actually think that would be a pretty good matchup because Tyson Fury has his own problems. The thing about Deontay Wilder is that he can punch. Even though he's beating up basically heavy bags with arms and legs. Even if you to knock somebody out is even somebody that is a heavy bag with arms and legs is still something that's kind of hard to do. So I give him he clearly has punching power, but whether he can handle a shot, whether he can handle any body work and all of that, it's yet to be seen because he's yet to be put in there with anyone that has the capability of doing that. So I'm on the same page as Snoop Stock. I think he's going to come tumbling down, and that's going to be the end of him. I mean, you look, Seth Mitchell, I think, beats him. When you look at that other clear, I would love to, that other level of fighters, I'd love to see, I'm a big Bryant Jennings fan who's fighting in a couple of weeks. I'm a big fan of his. He's too small. I don't think he's going to really, make it, but that's a fight I wouldn't mind seeing. Because if Bryant Jennings can beat a Deontay Wilder, then Bryant Jennings is going to beat a Klitschko. I'll tell you that right now. I just think that the height is going to be too much. But Tyson Fury, maybe. Maybe Tyson Fury. Maybe that's a good fight because Tyson Fury, his chin is questionable. and he's got those toothpick legs, man. So yeah, I agree with Snoop Stock on that. Justin Griffin says, "Hey Billy C, what do you think about B-Hop versus Froch if Froch beats Kessler convincingly and B-Hop beats Murat? I think if Garcia versus Matthysse fight is made, it'll be interesting because he had okay, well, that's another thought. What do I think of Bernard Hopkins and Carl Froch if Froch beats Kessler? I like it. I think it's a good fight. I think B-Hop against any one of those. I'd actually like to see B-Hop and Chad Dawson, to be honest with you. B-Hop's already eyeing Carl Froch. Everybody thinks Carl Froch is going to win. When everybody thinks somebody's going to win, that's when the other guy wins, and that's when the bookies make some moolah. So I don't know, man, but I think we'll see that, and I'm glad you put if Bernard Hopkins gets by Murat. I think he will, but you never know. You never know. But I think 2 fights out there for Bernard Hopkins is the winner of that one, the Carl Froch Mikhail Kessler fight, and Chad Dawson. Listen, B-Hop is not going to have a problem fighting Chad Dawson. And it would be a good test to see how good Chad Dawson is. Because if Chad Dawson beats B-Hop, I know people can say, well, Bernard Hopkins 48 and everything else. But he's still, listen, I had to eat the crow. I'm still spitting out black feathers from the crow. I mean, the bottom line is this. I think that I think Bernard Hopkins, listen, the guy's still competing at a world-class level. He's still ranked in our pound-for-pound. He's still ranked in our rankings. I put him in with anybody. I'd like to see him fight Andre Dawson or the winner of Froch Kessler. So, yeah, I agree with you, Justin. Justin also says, I think if Garcia and Matthysse fight, it's going to be interesting because Swift's chin has it ever really been tested? Yeah. Well, I guess you could argue that, but I think it was tested with Khan, and of course when he was rocked a little with Zab Judah. So yeah. He says, who knows? He could have a granite chin. He says, in the end, I think he gets caught up in the moment and tries to outslug Matthysse and probably gets stopped, but who knows? That's a great thing about boxing. Anything can happen. Let me tell you something. I know his father's pretty tough and bold for him, for Danny. But let me tell you, if the fight is made between him and Matthysse, I don't think that the game plan for any stretch of the imagination should include going toe-to-toe with Matthysse. I don't care if fans are booing. I don't care if they're throwing empty cups at him or full cups, for that matter, of beer. The bottom line is this. Danny Garcia, at all costs, has to avoid standing toe-to-toe with Matthysse. Because I don't know if there's a fighter in 140 pounds or even more, maybe even in the welterweight division, that can stand toe-to-toe and outslug Matthysse. I mean, come on. What else does he have to do? What else does this guy have to do? I mean, listen, he's taken a lot of shots. He doesn't seem to be affected. He doesn't seem to get tired. Well, he gets tired, but he comes back later in the fight. I mean, listen, when do you say when? When do you admit? And I think that I think Danny Garcia would be very foolish if he stands in front of Matthysse. Now, with that said, I've also given the accolades with Matthysse and how great he is at getting these fighters to fight like that, to stand in front of him. So, interesting. He also says, Billy C, by the way, I do realize Froch and B-Hop are in 2 different weight classes, but I think that fight would be huge, especially in England. Maybe a catchweight for Bernard Hopkins, light heavyweight title. Listen, they're already talking about the fight. Bernard Hopkins was a super middleweight. He moved up to light heavyweight just to fight. He ended up with a title. That's why he's there. I think Bernard Hopkins can go either way. So thanks for the email there. I'm interested in seeing what would happen there. That's for sure. But Anyway, we have another couple of emails here that are a little longer for me to read. Well, let me get I can get this one out of the way. This one's from my man Alex T. He says, "Man, does Frank Warren think we're all sitting around waiting to hear what he has to say? This guy must release a press release. This guy must release a press statement every other week." He says, "For your information, Frank, no one cares. Get over yourself." Alex says, "It cracks me up. This guy feels he needs to publicly explain his spat between Golden Boy and Deontay Wilder and himself." He says, then he threatens to sue Wilder because Deontay said something less than flattering about Frank Warren. How ironic is it that a guy who's involved in a sport where men beat the crap out of each other, then shake hands, is such a baby that he has to go online to threaten somebody with a lawsuit because they hurt his feelings. He's probably going to have a press release saying that he's suing me over this email. It's true. And I kid you not, Alex and everyone else, Frank Warren, and if you go back, and once I say this, you're going to probably remember, but Frank Warren recently, and I say recently, within the last year, time flies, I've lost total control of time, released a press release saying he was going to release a press release about an incident. And I kid you not. And I remember the whole topic of the show was that. And I was busting Frank Warren's chops. And I agree with Alex T 100%. Frank Warren released a press release saying that he was going to release a press release about an issue that took place. And it wasn't that long ago. So Alex T is right on the money here. Listen, it's like this. When you get, you want to get news out and everything else. And the way news is today, especially for boxing, it's almost like follow Twitter, right? Twitter is the sense of how news is sent to everyone all day. In other words, what I mean by that is that the way Twitter works, as far as I know, because I'm no tweetheart, we save that for a Dax.com. But the way Twitter works is that, if you're on, and I don't even know, do people hang out on the Twitter page and just wait for tweets? Is that how you guys do it? Because I'm not sure. I do tweet, but very rarely. So I don't know, but tweeting, it's like a ticker tape. That's what we are anyway. We try to be a ticker tape with boxing news on Twitter. And my point is, you get news, and a tweet comes up and it's got the news, such and such and such and such. Now, if you're not there for that second because there's a gazillion and a half people tweeting, that tweet, scrolls down the page. So I think the theory with today's media, and Facebook is the same way, internet is the same way, the news is rotating and changing so often. And that's one thing we like about our webpage. The relevant news is on the front page. It scrolls off. Once it's old, it's gone. But I think Frank Warren is trying to make sure he captures as much of that scrolling news in boxing that he can. And I think it's evident when you look at the fact that he releases a press release to tell you that he's going to do a press release about a press release that he's going to do in another week. So he's got to release a press release to release about a press release, then another press release to release about that press release. But the whole thing is he's got to talk about a press release that he's going to be mentioning something that he changed. So when he has something for dinner, he releases a press release that says he's going to have that for dinner, but he put air in his tires in his car and all that other stuff.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio. He would scoff at a stretcher, that man, I would think.
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans,
check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Oh, wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's the problem?
Billy
what?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask
wrong
you.
Speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
Oh, yeah, right. And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You can watch us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us on Fight Now. Don't forget, we're changing our time. That's right, man. Finally, the big cheese, or the big cheese, I don't know. I won't mention his name, Brad. Said that, we're going to be officially moving to the PM time slot. And that's beginning Monday, June 3rd. So we're going to be running from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern time, and that's going to be some fun for us. I hope it's fun for this guy. Marty Mulcahy joins us. What's up, brother?
Hey, I get to see daylight. That's better. I get to come out from my basement like that ESPN commercial and talk during the daytime. I might scare some people.
Yeah, do you remember the Geico commercial? What have you been living under a rock? And there's like this whole family living under the rock. They come crawling out. It's something like that, right? I don't know. But anyway, listen. I'm going to hold off on what I really have been talking about all week, but let's talk a little bit about Lucas Matthysse real quick in his fight against Lamont Peterson. I'm not shocked that he won. I'm a little shocked that he won as quickly as he did because I think people have a tendency to underestimate Lamont Peterson. But what I've been saying all week about Matthysse, Marty, is that not only, everybody knows he's got freakish power and stuff like that, but I think what you really got to give him credit for is the ability to make these other fighters that he fight his style. He's got this knack for, I'm sure Lamont Peterson's game plan wasn't to test his strength. I think he tried to box, but Matthysse was able to get him to stand in front and trade, and ultimately we saw what happened. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, this is something he's done before. It's not just Lamont Peterson. If you think about the two fights he, supposedly, quote-unquote, lost, against two really good movers, Devon Alexander and Zab Judah, he forced them to fight him as well. He has very good feet. He cuts off the ring better than you think. He doesn't just wear you down. He's intelligent in there. Remember, this guy was a good amateur. In the South American levels, he was one of the top amateurs. He went to a World Championships back in the early 2000s. So this isn't a guy who just walks into the ring, closes his eyes, and swings blindly. He sets up shots. He has very good timing. And the other thing is accuracy. You can hit. These are just knockouts where he hits them and grazes them. Well, that shot that he hit, that he stopped Lamont Peterson with the final one, was right on the button. Sure, the first one, you grazed off the top of the head, and it shows that he's effective both ways. Even if he grazes you, you're going to feel it, and it has that natural power. But that natural power comes from balance, comes from setting the shots up. And like Al Bernstein, he described it perfectly. The very first knockdown was not set up. The punch that knocked him down was great, but it was actually set up by the previous punch. So he's an intelligent guy. He sets him up well, and he's been able to track down movers with his feet. He really is the complete package. And if you look at usually guys like that, you look back at Ronald Hearns, Tommy Hearns, and people like the heavyweights, Tommy Morrison, big punches like that. They have success. They have chins that don't stand up to the type of punches they deliver. Lucas Matthysse looks like the opposite. He has a chin to go along with the power. And right now, when you're looking at unstoppable forces, he has got to be put right up at the top. But I will say this: he's come to the stage just a little bit late. He is 30. People forget that. He was not touring around South America, but because of his extended amateur career, he came to the pros a bit late because he barely missed the Olympics. He wanted to stick around and try to make that Olympic team. So I wish he was 25 and in his physical prime, but I'm thinking that more and more he's going to have to rely on that power, which he obviously has, because from this point forward, I think his speed's going to start, start dipping a little bit. Maybe his reflexes aren't going to be quite as fast. So this might be the prime Matthysse we're saying right now, and I hope and I wish that, maybe a buzz can be built for a Mayweather fight, because I think that would be the ultimate payoff, because, I tweeted this last week, if boxing was just, if the world was just, Lucas Matthysse would be getting the type of paydays that Floyd Mayweather is.
I think that's the fight. That's the fight I want to see, Marty. You know what? Listen, everybody's talking about Floyd fighting Canelo and, Floyd fighting this one and that one. And the Floyd lovers, he's too small to fight, like at middleweight to fight Sergio. And, the big rumor that he's, demanding Saul to come down to 147, blah, 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 blah. I say, what? Forget Saul Alvarez. Listen, I love the kid. I think he's going to be the replacement of Floyd in terms for pay-per-view numbers and fans and all of that stuff between him and Chavez. The Mexican fans are going to be for the next 10 years are going to have a couple of heroes to follow. But right now, Matthysse poses a challenge. It's something that I'm critical of Mayweather, that he doesn't seek. He doesn't seek challenges. Now, can Mayweather outbox him? Can Mayweather do all of that? Of course he can, but they both are very similar in the situation that both fighters have a knack for making their opponents fight their fight. It would be interesting so it would be interesting to see who wins this. If Floyd makes Matthysse fight Floyd's going to pick him apart. But Matthysse has demonstrated, like you said, against the Zab Judas that have good footwork and what have you. That he makes them fight and stand toe-to-toe. I think Lamont Peterson was enough for me to say, I think he's got a chance anyway against Mayweather.
And he's a finisher. He's proven that. Stopping, 32 out of 34 of his wins, he stopped it. He's a finisher. If you get Floyd Mayweather in trouble, he's the type of person that can finish him. And he's also the type of boxer where, one punch can change it. And look at the recent list of Floyd Mayweather, who's Mayweather's fought. It's not one-punch type punches. And listen, these type of punches don't come along very often. They're rare in boxing. This is something we need to enjoy and something that needs to be promoted. So if the Danny Garcia fight is the logical fight to come next. But, strike while the iron's hot. I think that him against Floyd Mayweather would be absolutely perfect for the next fight. I don't think it's going to happen because the next fight is going to be around Mexican Independence Day, and he's going to want a Mexican-type opponent. So, he's Latin American, but he's not Mexican. So maybe at the beginning of next year that fight will happen, and I'm hoping that, if he takes out Danny Garcia, it will be like, that's kind of a super meeting that everybody wants to see.
Yeah, but, think about this. Matthysse Mayweather, they could sprinkle in every other, Mexican fighters on that in September. But if you had Matthysse Mayweather, even if Mayweather beats Matthysse, that doesn't diminish the value of Matthysse against Garcia. You know, and I have a feeling. I love Danny Garcia. I've followed Danny Garcia since he turned pro. The guy's been a blue chip. He's been on all the big shows. I mean, this guy was moved along, basically the best you can. He's similar to, I'm not comparing him, but similar to Oscar De La Hoya. I mean, that's the kind of pedigree he had. But the truth of the matter is that Danny Garcia will, as sure as you and I are talking, and we're not disconnected yet, I think that Danny Garcia will be coaxed into standing in front of Matthysse, and it's going to be lights out. Listen, Danny is a better fighter, but he's going to do what Lamont did. And
I don't know if Danny's a better fighter. Honestly, if you look at before he dropped Amir Khan, he was losing that fight, and I think people really underestimate what Lucas Matthysse does. He fights like Costa Zoo. He does not waste punches. He sets them up well. He gets into position. He really does all the little things that aren't readily not visible, but because he does them all so perfectly. But the way he sets things up is just underappreciated. And go back and play some of these knockouts in slow motion. You'll see it's not just the punch that does it. It's the way he sets up the punches that make it special. And I'm with you. I really enjoyed Danny Garcia. Outside of the first Amir Khan fight, I picked him to win every fight that he was in, and I thought he was underappreciated. Now he might be to the point where not overappreciated, but he's respected, and that's the type of respected opponent you want him. You want Lucas Matthysse. If he walks through him like he's walked through every other opponent so far, then he's done more than earn the Floyd Mayweather fight.
You're right. That's a good point. That's a real good point. The other thing I like about Matthysse, not to keep on his bandwagon, but he's conditioned so well, like a lot of the Argentine fighters are. I mean, this guy, I've seen him look like he's getting tired, then all of a sudden it's like he gets a second win. I honestly, this guy is a complete, bell-to-bell, nonstop action fighter for 12 rounds, and that's a tough out, man. That's a tough guy to beat.
Imagine if I hate to go back to tweets, but I tweeted last week. Imagine if this guy if he was still fighting 15-round fights. If you look back at the Devon Alexander fight, that was only a 10-round fight, and he lost that by a split decision. You give him 2 more rounds, he would have won that fight. And so, yeah, it really is the complete package. And like I said, enjoy him now, because punches like this do not come along very often.
Yeah. From what I understand, you're the number one tweetheart going around, Marty.
Yeah.
Sugar Shane Mosley, one of my all-time favorite fighters. I hate seeing him because he's really I don't mean this in any negative or even positive way, but he's a shell of himself. He's not the same Sugar Shane Mosley at even close. But I think by him winning against Cano and probably setting up himself for another fight and everything, that's not really what bothered me in the fight, even though I'm disappointed that Shane is still fighting, and I don't want to see him get hurt, and I can already see slurring of his words and all of that stuff. But what I think bothered me the most was Cano. Cano, he's been a fighter that I like. I watched this guy, and then I have to come up to the conclusion, especially after the Mosley fight, is that you never know what you're going to get. The guy just doesn't throw enough punches. I don't know if it's conditioning. I don't know if it's weight. I mean, he had the hometown crowd behind him. I mean, everything was going his way, and he lost. What was up with that? Was he just not as good as we think, or is he not dedicated? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Styles make fights. He was in... Shane Mosley's still fast enough in spurts. He's almost getting to the Bernard Hopkins stage where he knows where to make the spurt and when to take advantage of opening. The intellect is still there. The reflexes are gone, yes, but the intellect is still there, and Cano's slow enough to where he saw where the openings were, and he filled them with punches and got out, or tried to get out. And Cano still was able to, catch him with those long punches of his. So Cano, he just has a knack of picking guys who just are still just a little bit better than him. I thought he won the Paul Malignaggi fight, so I'll throw that one out. But if you look back at the Eric Morales, he was right there. He almost had it, just an inch away, and then Eric Morales came back and stopped him.
Yeah, but he ran out of gas in that fight. Remember? That's why.
Exactly. Yeah. But like I said, just a little bit out of his reach. And now it's a Paul Malignaggi fight. That was close enough to where, okay, Malignaggi, maybe you can make an argument for him. But that last couple round knockdown where Cano knocked him down in the 10th or 11th round, I thought that swung it for Cano. So, but he's always picking a type of opponent that just not made for him, not his type of fighter. And I think Cano, his greatest deficiency is his matchmaker. Who's ever getting into these matches, because they're just a little bit beyond his reach. And he's going to be the guy I would compare him to would be Obakar, a guy who's right on the fringes. Look like he's going to do it, but there's always somebody just a little bit better than him on the other side. And Shane Mosley, as much as we, don't want to see him fight in a way because it diminishes from what he was, everybody wants to remember him in his prime. If you look against who he lost to, Saul Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Margarito, well, actually he beat Margarito, but, Cotto, that's almost a Hall of Fame list right there. And that goes back to the 4 years to 2008. So he's only lost to the very best. And Cano is just not, the very best of the type of opponent, so he can win that kind of fight. But as you said, unfortunately, it sets him up for a beatdown against a higher caliber guy.
Yeah, he's with Golden Boy, and I guess he hasn't figured it out that he's an opponent for Golden Boy yet, but...
a high-level opponent.
Yeah, right? No, I understand that, and he's probably making, good money, but still...
I don't know. He's down in Mexico. Hopefully he'd be taxed a little bit less, because, he's in California, and you live in New York, you understand about taxes. So, we look at these $1 million paydays, but then, 30% is going to the state, another 10% is going to federal, then you got to pay your trainers, and he still got to pay his ex-wife. So there's a lot of money going out the window before he sees it.
It's like the old Bugs Bunny, and me boss, and me boss, and me boss, and me boss when they put their hands. But anyway, the fight of the week really for me, not only did I watch it and I was on the edge of my seat, because it was such a great fight, was of course Guillermo Jones against Denis Ledebev. On one hand, I loved the fight. I love Denis Ledebev, and I've said all along that it's a shame that this kid does not surround himself with at least one American trainer to help him with his defense.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll say Costa Tszyu is a better trainer and give him good credit for, although I really did lose respect for him in this fight because I think he should have stopped that fight.
Yeah, right, and I'm getting to that. I mean, Costa Tszyu, listen, Costa Tszyu is exactly what Ledebev is. I mean, this is a guy that really didn't fight with much defensive skill. I mean, he had a little bit of movement, but he wasn't a defensive-minded guy. My point with Ledebev was that, he needs defense. It's something that he does not really possess. And it was evident against Guillermo Jones, who picked him apart. He was winning. I had Ledebev winning as well, and we all saw the scorecards. He would have won that fight if he just made it to the end of the bell after the 12th round. But that gruesome face. Listen, man, some people say it should have been stopped after the third. I figured by the sixth, there was no doctor on the planet that would have let it continue. It was appalling. I've said it all week, but the most appalling thing to me was just before the fight actually stopped, by the knockout at the beginning of the 11th round. Stanley Christodoulou brought him over, had the ringside doctor look at him, and he literally gave him a thumbs up, turned him around, and patted him on the back and sent him back in there. I thought it was a travesty that not only his corner, but the assigned ringside doctor let that fight continue. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we wax poetically about the old days, the great old days in the 50s and the 40s where there were real men in there who there's a famous picture, of Willie Pep with his eye all swollen up after the Sandy Sadler fight, and it just literally looked like there was a purple.
We just lost you, Marty. Marty, we lost you. So if you could give me a shot back, and he's talking about the Willie Pep with the purple eye, and Scotty Krause, if you guys remember. on Wednesday's show, Scotty Krause said, "Hey, it's the Hurt Business basically, and that's what you sign up for." And he also sent me a picture of it was the Willie Pep photo with the purple eye. It looked like a grapefruit stuck on the guy's eye, not on the side of his eye, on his eyelid, and he's smiling, we have seen those kinds of faces before. Sorry about that. You were actually the first drop in a while, but you were describing the famous Willie Pep purple orange on his eyeball.
Yeah. It looked like he had two purple baseballs where his eyes should be, and that's exactly what Lebedev looked like. And I don't know if you heard this part, but sometimes being a hometown fighter does not pay off, and he took much more punishment because he was a hometown fighter. They kept giving him chance after chance after chance, and they probably knew he was up on his scorecards as well. Just lasted out, and unfortunately, we have to give Guillermo Jones the credit as well, as much as I do not want to, because he is the most irritating fighter in sports as far as activity is concerned. But he got the job done, and I don't know how he does it, but he manages to win fights that he really shouldn't. And it's frustrating because I love Lebedev. He's such an action fighter. He made me a fan against Marco Huck, and you are right. He has his defensive skill is just not there. His sense of space is not there. He thinks he's outside of the range, and he never is. He always gets tagged. But you hope that at age 30, I think it's 33, 34. This is the type of fight that takes out of a young fighter and an old fighter like Lebedev. Not old, but I think we have to readjust our thinking of age in the sport of boxing, because some of these guys are still very good, especially the higher weight guys in the mid 30s to late 30s. So I don't know. The next fight's going to be really telling as far as how much this fight took out of Lebedev. I have a feeling that it took a lot out of him, and perhaps he might not be a top 10 fighter anymore, which would be too bad because he does make for exciting fights. And this fight is on YouTube. Go seek it out. It's if you do a search for Lebedev and Guillermo Jones, it's going to come up with nothing but Russian characters. But that's the fight. It's on a red canvas, and with all that blood, it's probably even more red now.
Yeah. Again, if his career is over, really he's got no one to blame but his corner and everyone involved with that event, because somebody should have stopped it. I mean, it comes a point.
We talked about these tough old fighters back in the 40s and 50s, and they went through so many of these fights, and they were able to bounce back. But in a way, it was a different game because they were always, if they weren't training, they were actually in a fight. So maybe their bodies became more conditioned to the type of punishment they received. I don't think today's athletes, perhaps, their bodies are more finely tuned, but they're not able to take the type of punishment that was dished out, especially in this fight.
Well, if he had a little defense, just a little, he could have deflected some of the punches. Now, just real quickly about Guillermo Jones, I think his inactivity wasn't all his fault. He is with my man Don King, and Don is, But I give Jones a lot of credit, Marty, because, this guy's got freakish power. He doesn't have anything super. He doesn't have super speed. He doesn't have super movement, but, he's got power. He's got enough speed. He's got enough movement. And he's a big dude. I got to see him a couple of weeks before the fight in Miami. He looked like he was in great shape. I didn't realize that, he was that big. I mean, he's a big guy. They're talking about moving him right into a shot with Klitschko, or at least they're talking about it, the winner of Povetkin and Klitschko. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's 6'4", so he is a big guy. But I was just talking about athletes age differently now. He's also 41 years old, and but even
that's in question. Even that's in question. Some people think he's older.
Yeah. But even if you're with Don King, you should fight more. You should fight at least once a year. He didn't fight at all last year. Fought once in 2010, I think once in 2011, and then he had like a 3-year gap before that where he didn't fight anyone, and he managed to keep his title somehow as well. So I don't know. He's in the serial killers movies, how you think he's dead, but he keeps coming back.
Yeah.
He's the serial killer in boxing. He keeps coming back when you think he's done and dusted.
How the hell could that guy have ever weighed 154 pounds?
Well,
he was a junior middleweight. I think
that's the only thing you think of. As you age, your metabolism slows down. You naturally gain weight. But yeah, I know. I agree. He was well. If you look at Thomas Hearns, he had that type of physique. And remember, Thomas Hearns went all the way up to cruiserweight as well.
Yeah, no, Tommy, I think even fought heavyweight one fight. But anyway, all right, big fight this weekend: Miguel Kessler against Carl Froch, repeat. Rematch. I kind of thought Carl might have, squeaked out the first one. I love Carl Froch. I think Miguel Kessler is a little overrated, but I also think Carl Froch fights the totally wrong style for a Miguel Kessler with the way he keeps his hands down. How's this one going to go in London?
I keep going back and forth. I wake up one morning, I think it's Froch's fight. I wake up the next morning, I think it's Kessler's fight. The only reason I'm picking Froch is intangibles, the hometown crowd, getting behind him. He has a little bit more power, so I think he can score that knockdown, which could be the deciding factor. He has the type of slicing punches where he can, cause a cut. Those are the intangibles. But if you look at the overall boxing ability, I think Kessler is a little bit better boxer because he stays within himself. Like you were talking about with the hands down, he doesn't take as many chances. He's more compact. And if you look at the first fight, he threw more punches than Carl Froch. I don't think the moment got to Carl Froch, but I think it was the first time that he kind of went to the other guy's hometown, and he suffered because of it. I think he was not overhyped, but he put more into those punches. He was looking for the knockout. I don't think he believed in getting a fair shot over there. And I think maybe he'll box more within himself this time. He'll rely more on his accuracy because he is a underrated boxer as far as accuracy goes, and he also has a very good jab. He's one of the few guys that he can out-muscle a boxer, but he can also, stay on the outside behind that jab and kind of pick his spot. So he does have options in the ring. But Kessler, like you were saying, style-wise, that style of Kessler just does not suit him because Kessler's a guy who understands space, like we were talking about a little bit with Guillermo Jones, and, that long reach. Just when you think you're out of reach, he's in there. He takes that quick step, gets his punches off, and then does a nice tuck and move under where he gets underneath of the punches. So Carl Froch definitely has his work cut out for him, and I think it's going to be a really close fight, just like last time. And the intangibles are going to be working with Froch. And I think he's going to get like a split decision win. And I could even see a draw in this fight because neither of these guys is much faster than the other guy, much more powerful than the other guy. Everything's, minuscule in the differences. So you go with Froch, but you do so hesitantly.
Yeah, well, then Kessler, I think, sustained a pretty bad cut in his last fighter to fight before, so that might come into play. Another fight I wanted to ask you about real quick, in the heavyweight division for the World Boxing Federation heavyweight title, the world title, Michael Grant, who actually has a really good resume when you look at it, from a while ago, taking on Carlos Takim. It's an interesting fight because Michael Grant, his weakness really is his chin, but the size difference between these two guys is unbelievable. What's your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, when I'm ashamed to say it, I just didn't really know anything about this fight happening until it was on your picks for this weekend, and then I looked into it last night. And Takam is he's one of those burly, short, squat fighters, almost like a Joe Frazier type. And if you look at his one loss, it came against a 6'4", 6'5" opponent. So he's the type of guy. I went and watched a couple YouTube videos. He does not set up punches. He relies on his power. He wants to get inside and maul on you a little bit. And I think Michael Grant, this version of Michael Grant, can actually take that. If you look at the Thomas Adamic fight and the Franz Botha fights, he does okay with pressure now. Whereas before, the Lennox Lewis knockout and the really tough fight that he had with Andrew Gallardo, where he got knocked down at the beginning. I think he's actually gone beyond that now and has become the type of boxer where he's more accepting of when adversity hits him. He doesn't just fold mentally. If you look at the Thomas Adamic fight, he was there the entire time mentally. But he is going overseas for the first time, and like I was talking to you about Carl Frost, these are new experiences, and boxers are creatures of habit. They want a routine. So I think on skill and on size, he wins it. But yeah, it's always mentality. I keep saying it, you know, boxing is at least 70% mental when you get up to these higher echelons where the athleticism pretty much evens out. So yeah, I would pick Grant, and I think Grant's going to win this fight simply because we were talking about styles. But you can only see limited footage of the cam. I didn't find any, you know, complete fights on YouTube. So it's a bit of, you know, herky-jerky, his style, and he doesn't set anything up. So I think Michael Grant still has the reflexes to see that one punch at a time coming and avoid them, and, you know, last a 12-round distance. And if the judging is fair, I think he'll get the decision.
Yeah, well, it's in Takeem. Takeem's promoter is promoting it, and it's in his hometown. So, and that's a problem that people don't understand when you win a belt, especially the way the sanctioning bodies are working now. You got to be in a position to have somebody willing to put on a fight for you to defend it. Otherwise, you fall prey to someone else, and hopefully that won't happen to Grant.
Yeah, that's the whole post-bid process, and that's why, especially at heavyweight, if you look where all the money at heavyweight is in Europe. That's why, you know, half of these promoters over in the USA that have American fighters, they don't even bother going through the post-bid process. They just, you know, get rid of the belt and stay in the USA, basically to avoid, you know, to build up their fighter and avoid the higher caliber talent in Europe. I think that's what's happening with Deontay Wilder and, to a lesser extent, Jonathan Banks. And, you know, until Chris Arreola made that step to the very top, you know, he was fighting nowhere but the USA and, you know, getting those wins. And it's almost the exact reverse of the way it used to be back in the 70s and 80s, where these Europeans would stay on their own turf and then build themselves up and come over here, lose, and then go back. It's the exact opposite now.
Yeah, excuse me, there's no doubt about that. One quick question. Delvin Rodriguez against Freddie Hernandez. Is it going to be an easy fight for Delvin, or is he going to make it interesting?
I don't think Delvin's ever been in an easy fight. Everything kind of comes difficult for him. He's just an exciting fighter. He gets drawn into fights, and he's moving up in weight divisions now where he doesn't have any kind of a body type advantage. It used to be at least he was a bigger guy in the fight. You know, I always thought Delvin Rodriguez was really good, but not really an elite as far as a top 10 type fighter. And now he has to work just as hard. And if you look at it, you know, he couldn't deal with somebody like Austin Trout, who was a really good athlete and a top 10 guy. He lost the decision there. But against, how do you say the guys, Tatanopia, you know, a B-level fighter, he dominated him at that weight. And Paul Volak, those two great fights he had, 2 years ago, where he just outwilled him and outmuscled him. That's exactly what he has to do here. He has to outwill his opponent and outmuscle him. And I think he can against Freddie Hernandez, the guy who showed himself good against B-level guys, but when he went to the top, like against Andre Berto and who was the other one, Lara, those are fights he lost, closely against Lara, but Berto blew him away, and the other one was that kid in Connecticut, Andrade, just whitewashed him, won every single round. So I think mentally he's given up much more than Delvin Rodriguez has. So I think Delvin Rodriguez will take this on activity, and I think Delvin Rodriguez still sees the future, still sees a title shot in his future, and that's the type of thing that you get up in the morning, you run a little bit further, and you do a little bit more work in the gym than Freddie Hernandez, who's lost 3 of his last 4 fights, and I think he knows that he's the opponent in this fight, and mental attitude makes a difference.
Your boy's fighting, man, Omar Navarez. I
love him. I know. He disappointed me so much against Nonito Donaire, but I can't help it. He's always been my pick as maybe the most underrated boxer of his generation.
Yeah, no. When you take out that one fight, he's an all-time great.
Fight, he showed his defensive acumen brilliantly. He just didn't throw any punches, after he made Nonito Donaire miss. And I was like, this is a guy who, he was a 2000 Olympian. He lost that one fight, but that's it. I mean, he's been, when did he turn pro? What Olympics was that? 2000. So what? That's 13 years. He lost all of one fight. He had some of his toughest fight overseas. He's held a title for the world title for 9 years consecutively, if you think about it, because he didn't really give up his title when he moved up in weight to the fight Nonito Donaire. Along with Chris John, I think, like I said, the most underrated boxer of this generation.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
His opponent's going to be not tough in sense of boxing ability. He'll outbox this kid all day long. But this guy is 4 or 5 inches taller than him, and he's the type of physical specimen that can give a slow starter like Navarez a really tough time early. So, I think the first 4 or 5 rounds, people are going to be saying, is this where, Navarez finally lost it, where, age caught up to him, and then, from round 4 or 5 on, he'll sweep those rounds and win the decision. But, like I said, the physical opponent that he's matched up against is not going to be easy.
I agree. Hey, brother, enjoy the holiday. Is that going to affect us next week?
Well, yeah, exactly. I was just saying, you said June 3rd is when the switch is, so let me look, because I don't have to work.
Well, no, Friday of this upcoming. Just drop me an email because this Monday is the holiday.
Yeah.
So then usually that Friday you would be affected. Yeah. So you would be back the following week, which is the new times.
Oh, so it's the following week after that, yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah, so it's Friday morning? No, but yeah, because I'm working 10-hour days, and those
all
are
right.
conducive to getting up at 3 in the morning.
we'll figure that out, and we'll make sure we get you straight with the new times, and don't forget to send those pics you're talking about because I didn't get them.
Good Lord. Okay,
you get them from me, and I don't know why, but send them to if you have to send them to the other address, and then I'll forward them into the file.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother.
Everybody have a great weekend, even though there's only really, 2 decent fight cards.
Yeah, well, you know what? Everybody's going to be flipping burgers and eating hot dogs, too. So we'll enjoy the holiday and all the fights, bro.
That's right. If you don't have boxing, make do with alcohol.
There you go. Sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
Enjoy the weekend, everybody.
Take care. That's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Marty Mulcahy. And like I always say, who does it better than Marty, huh? Who does it better than Marty? Well, you just heard, we're not going to hear him next week, but he will be back when we change our times. And speaking of being back, I got to take a break.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out the ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. Marty Mulcahy just gave us a lot of thought, whole lot of thoughts. And me boss. Got me thinking about Bugs Bunny cartoons. But you remember the one, right? Some of you guys are too young to even have watched Bugs Bunny. I don't even think you can see it anymore. But Bugs was collecting some money, and he was pretending he was all these different hands. Anyway, and me boss. But anyway, I'll break down the fights a little bit. I got one more email I want to get out the way, and this one's from my man Louis V. And it's not just the V. He's got a couple of E's after the V. So, he's not like, copying us or anything like that. This is Louis V. He says, one simple question, Billy C. Why do you think Adrian Bronner skipped the 140-pound division and went straight to 147 when the junior welterweight division is so packed with talent? With so many big fights that he could have made in that division, why go up 2 weight classes? He could say that his body is handling the weight and that it's not affecting him in camp, but he won't really know until he steps into the ring with a guy who's natural at that weight. I can see Broner doing just what you said about feeling he's out of that danger zone, expecting for his body to react like it did at 135, and getting tagged all night by Malignaggi. I'm a big fan of Adrian Broner, but my money is on Paulie for this one. If Paulie comes in shape and his timing is sharp, I think the girly man beats him. Well, first of all, Paulie will come in shape. He's always in shape. I'm never going to criticize him for not being in shape. So you're going to see the best possible Paulie in that fight. That I'm confident about. Now, as far as, how good I think Paulie Malignaggi is, that's a whole nother ballgame. As far as skipping over the weight class, it does pose an interesting question with all those fights that were in there. My thought about Adrian Broner is that he was trying to get in Floyd's sights. I mean, if you think about it, he obviously idolizes Floyd. Well, I don't know why anybody, aside from just boxing ability, would want to idolize and be like Floyd. I mean, he's a scourge as a person. As a boxer, yes, I could see them. But Adrian Broner has tried to actually do some of the things that Floyd does. So yeah, he's clearly, whether he says it or not, and I don't know if he's ever denied being a copycat, but he is. I think that if you think about Floyd and Broner, it's the classic two-way. Like, it could either be, Floyd proving his greatness and beating the young guy who's supposed to replace him, or Broner beats Mayweather and the torch is passed. There's just so much money in that fight down the road. And maybe for Floyd's last fight, maybe for a fight, sometime next year. I don't know. And I think that that's the only reason why Adrian Broner passed up the junior welterweight division, because, like you say, Louis, there are a lot of fighters out in that 140-pound class that would be a great matchup for Adrian Broner. But I think that he's trying to get a fast track to Mayweather. I think that a win over Paulie Malignaggi isn't anything great in terms of statistics, but it puts his legitimacy at welterweight. It gives him a belt, which, is worth about the size, the type of belt I need to keep my pants up, but still, so, I think that's the only reason, in my opinion, because, like you say, Louis, there was a lot of opportunities there, a lot of money to have been made and all that stuff. And as far as the fight between Adrian Broner and Paulie Malignaggi, obviously we'll have plenty of time to talk about that, coming up in the near future. But quickly, I can't see Paulie Malignaggi winning that fight at all. Paulie's not going to hurt Broner. Gavin Rees nailed Broner. Gavin Rees was able to nail Broner. Gavin Rees is a much harder puncher than Paulie would ever be. Even if he loaded his gloves, he couldn't hit as hard as Rees. So assuming you're right, and that Broner, gets himself in that wheelhouse and takes some shots from Paulie. Paulie may score, but Broner's ability, his hand speed, his counterpunching ability, and his ability and no problem to exchange with his opponents is I think we're gonna see Paulie Malignaggi knocked out, honestly. And Paulie's got a great chin, which is going to add value to Broner. I'm not going to say that he's going to knock out Paulie because he's got a devastating punch, but I think the accumulation of multi-punch combinations and stuff landing flush on Paulie is going to end the night for Paulie Malignaggi. I think Paulie aged in his last couple of fights. I think Paulie has found a comfortable home behind the microphone. Although I personally think he's got one of the most annoying voices I've ever seen, and I can't stand when the camera's on him. But aside from those two small little things, and maybe if they get rid of the main guy on Showtime, whatever his name is, Ranello Murillo, or whatever his name is, the guy who's yelling and screaming at you all the time, him, he's the worst, I think. But maybe Paulie's better without him. I don't know. You can't change the Fran Drescher voice no matter what you do. But he's got skill. He will come in shape. And, as much as I think Broner's going to beat him and stop him, on the other hand, if Paulie wins the fight on a close decision, I wouldn't be shocked. Paulie can box. Listen, I'm not a big fan of his, but he's got heart. He can box, and he's got a solid chin. It ought to be an interesting fight. It ought to be a bit. Get out of here! I can't believe that this guy is saying this. He's saying, he says Floyd. He's talking about Floyd, and he's obviously a Floyd fan. This is my man J-Man in the chat room, and he says, and I didn't read the whole thing because I can't. There's a lot, but he says Floyd is a better person than LeBron, Tiger Woods, Danica Patrick, Okychenko, Armstrong. Of course, I mean in terms of popularity. Listen, don't use the word better person and then have Floyd being mentioned in it. As far as popularity goes, trust me when I tell you, he's not more popular than Tiger Woods. I mean, there's no way about it. And he's not a better person than LeBron James. LeBron James is a good guy, man. LeBron James, think about LeBron James. First of all, he's very well known. Everybody knows who LeBron James is. That's number one. Number two, the guy was in the NBA from high school. He has not once been in trouble. And this is the guy that is one of the only athletes, in my opinion, that has gotten the boatload of cash that LeBron James has gotten at 18 years old. Remember, he signed his contract. He was 18 years old. And has never really effed up. Mike Tyson did. All these young athletes that get the buku dollars, the boatloads of cash thrown at them at an early age, piss it away. But LeBron James has been pretty smart with his money. So I give him a lot of credit. Now Floyd you give credit to because of the amount of money he makes, but no one really knows how stable he is. We hear a lot of different rumors. I've heard a lot of stuff. I've heard him borrow money from people I'm not going to mention and never paid him back. I've seen him waste his money. So I don't know. But anyway, LeBron is now my man. Skype is the hype says LeBron is a good boy. He's a good man. Henry Armstrong, not Henry Armstrong, Lance Armstrong, forget it. Ocho Cinco, forget it. I agree. They're one of them. But J-Man saying, well, if you played pool with them, listen, I don't play pool, but it's competition. If you're going to play pool with somebody, whether you're playing pool with Floyd or whether you're playing with LeBron, or whether you're playing with whoever, it's competition. It's competitors will listen. You play Monopoly with Floyd, I'm sure he's going to want to win. You play tic-tac-toe or hangman. I don't know. You play whatever. Play tiddlywinks with Floyd, and he's going to want to win. He's a competitor. So is LeBron. So is everybody else. I don't knock him for that. I knock him for what he is outside the ring. But anyway, good point by Louis V. And we'll see what happens. I got to disagree with you on the Paulie Adrian Broner fight. Some stuff. Speaking of fights, yesterday, what's going on? And you never hear me talk about it because I think that it's BS, and that's the conventions. When you think of a convention, I always say Plumber's Convention, although I'm so pissed right now at my plumber. I don't know. I was complaining the other day, hot water heater went, so I'm not exactly mechanically inclined. But, lately, because I, don't have a nickel, I've had to learn how to do a lot of things on my own, which I'm not proud of. But I guess it's rewarding. But plumbing is one thing I would never do. I just picture myself swimming, all right? And I have hard water in my house, which means, you get all these mineral deposits and stuff. So it just makes things difficult. You'd go to undo a pipe and it snaps off in your hands, and, then what do I do? Drive 10 miles to Lowe's and hope I bring back the right part before the house is underwater? No, I call a plumber, right? And I got a guy that's been treating us pretty good. So the hot water heater goes, he comes, he repairs it. Puts a heating element. The thing caught on fire, the element. But he fixed it, and it was a mess, of course, the water all over the place. $300, right? So, I paid it $300. Didn't bother me. But in the whole course of the thing, it bothered me because I don't have it. But, I figured, hey, I couldn't have done it, right? Well, in the course of the whole thing, the company that manufactured the hot water heater, it still was under a manufacturer's warranty. So they said, hey, here's the number. You go to the nearest Lowe's and pick up a new element and a new thermostat, on them. And I already paid to have this stuff done. So the plumber said, well, you have an extra one, right? So I said, okay. So I go to Lowe's yesterday, and I hand them the thing, and they're a bunch of idiots anyway. They don't even understand, but they finally gave it to you. And incidentally, if you want to figure out a way to, get stuff for nothing, just write a couple of numbers down on a piece of paper and tell them that that's all they told you to do. And they did tell me to do that, but I needed so much more from Lowe's. But anyway, I go and I look at the prices of what this guy just charged me $300 for. The material, the parts that he told me were, $38 to $40 for the two parts, cost $25 with tax and everything. I didn't have to pay for it, but that's it, $25. And I would have had to buy a special wrench that they had right next to this stuff for $8. So for $30, if I had the you-know-whats to try it myself, I could have fixed it. So now I'm ready, man. My man John from LDLTV got me all jacked up. And I'm ready. When it goes again, I'm doing it, man. I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to knock out that hot water heater. But anyway, getting back to why did my pea brain go off onto my hot water heater tangent? Because I was trying to make a comparison with conventions. And every time I think of a convention, I think of like a plumber's convention. Oh, did I tell you about my hot water? Oh, yeah. Anyway. You think of a plumber's convention, a salesman's convention. Let's go to Vegas. Well, I got to go to. Hey, honey, I got to go to Vegas for my, my business convention. And then, what do? They eat, they drink, they, buy themselves a couple of whores, whatever. And that's what a convention's all about, right? Well, lately, you got all these conventions with boxing, the WB, such and such, and I think it's a scam. First of all, you have to pay to get in. Yeah, it's just another way for these sanctioning bodies to make money, and I hate it. I can't stand the sanctioning bodies because they have ruined our sport, and they have the claws are so deep into the sport. You'll never get it all the way out. It's like a splinter. You keep breaking pieces off, and it's still, the other end is still going in deeper and deeper and infecting everything. And It's a joke, man. It's a friggin' joke. They go to these conventions, they all rally and try to position themselves for the fights and everything else. You got the managers and everything, but anyway, this shows you what a BS these conventions are. The IBF is holding their convention right now in Germany. And they had a special live event last night in Germany just for the special bigwigs that were at this convention. It was a special, only 200 people were allowed in, invitation only, blah, blah, blah. Check out the fight that they have as the main event. It was there was a German international belt on the line. Stefan Worth went into the fight with a record of 14 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, with 4 of his wins coming by knockout. Now, he was going to challenge the champion, the previous German international welterweight champion. He was challenging him, and his name was Alexander Matthysse. And Matthysse, who held the German international welterweight belt, had a extreme talented record of 3 wins and no losses. So this is the main event. A fighter with 14 wins, 2 losses, and a draw going up against a 3-0 fighter at the IBF convention. You would think that you would at least put on, you're trying to publicize the convention, get the word out and everything else. And what do you put as your main event? A guy with 17 professional fights against a guy with 3. And would I shock you if I told you Stefan Worth improved to 15-2 with a draw and became the new German international welterweight champion? Listen, to me, it speaks volumes of what these conventions are about and what the IBF is about. They're all bad. Speaking of bad, how about the WBA? Guillermo Jones arrived in Panama. He will be getting his official belt from the WBA sometime soon. But he's also from Panama, so he got a hero's welcome. And if you check out some of the publicity shots, you'll see he's a big dude, man. I feel good for Guillermo Jones, and I told you I'm working on 2 articles. One is about Don King, and another one is about Sauerland Events and Cecilia Brækhus, how much of frauds they are. But look for those under my column. Gary Russell Jr., he is returning to full 100% capacity in terms of training. He's back in the gym. If you recall, in his last fight, he fractured his left hand, and he wasn't able to train. He's been physically training, staying in good shape physically. He and his pops are in the gym all the time, but he was just recently cleared. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, by his doctor that said his hand is fully healed, and he's able to resume, boxing training 100%. And team Gary Russell Jr. says that they will be back soon. July, the WBC, which, listen, the WBC has come up with some good ideas. There's no question about it. But talk about claws and grips on the sport of boxing. They, in my opinion, are one of the worst things for boxing because they further. I mean, the WBA is bad. They're all bad. The IBF is bad. WBO. Actually, I think the WBO is one of the best. But the thing about the WBA, WBO, WBF, and the IBF, IBO, they're all willing to, unify belts and stuff like that, except for the WBC. They separate themselves. They don't want them to be associated with anybody else. And I understand about branding and everything else. I understand that they want legitimacy and all of that. But what they're really doing is dividing the sport. But the latest really kills me. They do that World Cup, the Boxing World Cup, and they basically award a championship for the divisions that are involved. And, they put, a fighter from one country against another, and in addition to whatever they're fighting for, this World Cup status is on the line. And I think it's BS, man. And one of the reasons I think it's BS is because the WBC themselves has criticized the World Series of Boxing, which does something team-oriented like this. The reason why they're critical of the World Series of Boxing is because they don't have a piece of it, and they didn't think of it beforehand. But make no mistake, this is their answer to it. The World Cup is the same principle, except individual versus team, as the World Series of Boxing. There's some other things about World Series of Boxing that's different, but the concept is basically the same. It's the same thing. All these sanctioning bodies have the interim champion. WBC criticizes the interim championship. There should be no interim championship, blah, blah, blah. So they rename theirs. Theirs is called the Silver Championship. So it doesn't have the word interim, but it's the same thing. Super champion is their diamond champion. So, I mean, they criticize and do everything against their competition, but yet they're doing the same thing. Hold that thought, because I'm going to tell you why the World Cup of Boxing, or Boxing World Cup, is nothing more than another, and I do mean another, because there's so many, WBC smoke screen. We'll talk about that in about 2.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Baby Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or he might have diarrhea, he might have the flu, he might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing
with Billy C.
In the real world, life has its shares of trials and tribulations, but you don't have to face them alone. This is Patricia Campanaro of Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you are facing emotionally difficult family legal issues from divorce to child custody, reach out to the team that will dedicate themselves to fighting for you, the team of Campanaro and Tomkovich. With almost 30 years of experience handling divorce, child custody, legal guardianship, visitation, and other legal issues dealing with family concerns, we can help you resolve the problems you are facing with professionalism and care. Our supportive staff is always ready to assist you with any questions or concerns you may have. To find out more about Campanaro and Tomkovich, visit us at duchessnylaw.com or call us and speak to a member of our attentive staff at 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Don't be surprised at court with inexperienced representation. At Campanaro and Tomkovich, we have been helping our clients get the justice they deserve for almost 30 years, and we could do the same for you.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the number 1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway, up on the boulevard like a zip gun on parade. Lights on the silhouette, he's in some butter net, coming at you on the count of 1, 2.
And where? What are we? Oh yeah, we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us, and I'm in the chat room, and I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to do this ghost thing. I got to admit, I don't believe in that stuff. I got my main man Kenny and a bunch of other people from LDL TV telling me, "Oh no, it happened." John's like, "Oh man, we're gonna get you in there." Listen, I don't believe in that. John plays. Hey, check out this video, this audio clip, and he and he says, "Did you hear it? It said that I'm gonna touch you. I'm gonna kill you. It's clear as day." Yeah, come on, man. Come on. I got to see it to believe it. I got to see it to believe. I'm willing to go into the haunted house. I'm not staying in the haunted house. I'm not, not that, I just, because I'm not sleeping in anyone. But I'll go do it. I'll do it. But anyway, the World Cup of the WBC's Boxing World Cup, it starts July 16th in Mexico City. And here's the thing, they said, the date's going to start on July 16th. We're going to get all the venues and everything made up. The first fight is going to be for the WBC Silver Lightweight Championship between Daniel Estrada and against the headliner is going to be the Silver Lightweight Champion Daniel Estrada. He's going to face an African opponent who they haven't named yet. And the co-main event's going to be the Cuban heavyweight Olandia Solis going against a European heavyweight. So they haven't named the opponent yet, but that's going to be the first one on July 16th. Here's the kicker. This is the one I really want to know. Question. So I'm asking you, Jose Trollman Suleiman, and anybody else. It was quoted by the WBC that they said, and it wasn't only just the WBC. It was the Trollman himself, Jose Suleiman, says that the winner. That this whole thing is going to be worldwide in 60 countries, and the winner, or at least it's going to be represented. He's saying that it's going to be transmitted worldwide, blah, 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 60 countries. It's going to be represented. It's going to be starting on July 16th. But here's the best part. He says the winner of each division, the winner of each division in this WBC Boxing World Cup will make between $400,000 and $500,000 to win it. That's great, man. That means all the fighters are going to want to get involved. Here's my question for you, Jose Suleiman. Who's paying the purse, man? We know that the WBC isn't reaching into their pocketbook, just like they were creating the retirement fund for former WBC champions. And they hold this. They get a company to foot the bill for everything, to pay to have all the celebrities, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, all those guys that signed the watches, and they made special watches, and had $1,000 a plate dinner, and all this money was to raise for this fund that, by the way, no one has received a penny from yet. Even someone who really needed it, like Iran Barkley, who was eligible, former WBC champ, didn't get a nickel. So far, no one's got a nickel. All this money was raised. Where'd it go? And I want to know how much money of this projected $400,000, $500,000 purses is going to be put up by the WBC. The way you read it, it sounds like the WBC is paying the purses. But I doubt that. The WBC doesn't pay for anything. They collect. They don't pay. They collect. It's another WBC smokescreen. And how the networks and the promoters allow this to happen, I don't know. It's like these scams. You say to yourself, how do people let somebody scam them out of their life savings? How does somebody call you up on the phone and let you scam them? Or vice versa. How do you call somebody on the phone and they let you scam them? How does that happen? You say to yourself, "What a stupid moron!" A dear friend, I am stranded in such and such country, and I can't go. If you give me $1,000, I will pay you back $9 million. Okay, yeah, I believe that. I always respond, "Really? Can I? Where do I send it? Sign me up. Sign me up, man." But it happens all the time. If you're a boxing fan and you're watching the show, you're listening to it on the radio, whatever, and you're one of these guys that buys into this, or one of these girls that buys into this, I don't mean to call you an idiot, but you're an idiot. Come on, man. They're a scam. They're nothing more than a leech. They are sucking the blood from the sport of boxing. And the WBC is the biggest sucker of them all. They suck more blood than any other sanctioning body. And there's other ones that do the same thing. I'm not just saying that the WBC is it and the other ones are good guys. No, they're all the same. The only two legitimate, listen, they're not recognized, but the IBO and the WBF and the WBO. Those three really, in my opinion, are the most have the best integrity. I'm not saying it's all integrity, but they have the best integrity. I don't know. Hey, listen, I'm going to run out of time, but watch out for the smoke screens, mirrors and smoke screens of the WBC. And that troll man himself, Jose. Am I the only one that I wouldn't, because he's that much older? But does anybody else would you like to get a free punch right in his face, just a shot right in his stupid face? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. We got 6 fights on the Billy C Challenge, and I'm going to break them down right now. The first one is on tonight. It's a co-main event. Yusuf Kinda against Chris Howard. Yusuf Kinda is only 25 years old. He's lives in the Bronx right now. He's relocated. He's undefeated, 16-0 with 6 knockouts. He's got 75 rounds as a pro with a 38% knockout ratio. He's ranked in the light welterweight division at number 81 by the computer. As far as the Billy C Boxing rankings, he ain't. He's not ranked. The thing about him is, I think the biggest win on his resume is Mike Aranudis. He beat him in October of last year. He's already fought once this year, a 7-1 fighter. He stopped. Aside from that, listen, he's only got 16 fights. He's taken that road. I think he's a legitimate prospect. He steps in with a tough guy, man. Chris Howard. He's only 24 years old. He's not ranked by the Billy C Boxing rankings, but he's ranked at number 107. But here's the thing. He's ranked at number 107 in the lightweight division. So Kinda is much bigger than Chris Howard. Chris Howard has fought some tough guys. He's 15 wins, 7 coming by knockout. He does have 2 losses and a draw. Never was stopped. He's 5'8", 92 rounds as a pro with a 39% knockout ratio. Now, his 2 fights that he's lost were both against decent fighters, undefeated fighters. Mark Slasser, he lost a very close, controversial split decision in August of last year. And in March of last year, he lost a 10-round unanimous decision against Arash Usamani. Aside from that, his competition has been kind of weak. His last fight was his best win of his career against Bayan Jargal, who he stopped in 3 rounds, who he was the underdog in. And Jargal was 17-3-3. So tough fighter. How's he going to fare against Yusuf Kinda? Kinda is actually with Joe DeGuardia, as far as I know. It's a Joe DeGuardia show. It's on ESPN. I'm looking for Kinda to beat Chris Howard. So that's who I'm picking in that fight. And I didn't even mark it on my sheet, but I'm picking Kinda on that fight. The next fight is one half of the fight is one of Marty Mulcahy's favorite fighters, and that's Omar Navarez. He steps in the ring, puts his world super flyweight title on the line against Felipe Orchuta, I think is how you pronounce it. Orchuta. He's 27-1 with 23 knockouts. He's 27 years old, 5'7", 96 rounds as a pro with an 82% knockout ratio. His one loss came at the hands of a 9-0 fighter, Daniel Rosas, back in 2010. He's righted the ship since then. He's fought some pretty tough opposition. His last fight was a first-round knockout over Fernando Lumacad, who you've all heard of him. He's got some decent fights under decent opposition. I don't know if it's going to help him against Omar Navarez. Omar Navarez, world super flyweight champion. He is ranked by the Billy C Boxing rankings at number 1 in the super flyweight division. And as far as the rankings, the computer ranks him at number 3 in the super flyweight division. He is the world champion super flyweight. He's also a former world champion in the flyweight division, and he challenged for a world title. And for the bantamweight class, it's his only loss, and that was at the hands of Nonito Donaire. He went the distance. His record, 38-1 with a couple of draws. Never was stopped in that fight. He had 20 knockouts. He's 5'3", 346 rounds as a pro. Listen, this guy's been a champion and or has fought in championship fights for over 10 years. This guy clearly is one of the best unknown fighters in the world. I don't think this is going to be a competitive fight. This is a showcase for Omar Narvaez. I'm picking Narvaez in this one. The next fight is Tony Bello against Isaac Chilimba. It's a tough one to pick. It's a rematch, very controversial. The last fight that put these two together ended in a split decision draw. Tony Bello is ranked by the BillyCBoxing rankings at number 14 in the light heavyweight division. The computer ranks him at number 5 in the light heavyweight division. He's a former world title challenger. He's got a record of 19 wins, 12 coming by knockout. He's got 1 loss and 1 draw. His draw was his last fight against his opponent this week, Isaac Chilimba. His loss was a majority split decision loss against then champion Nathan Cleverly, who's still a champion, and that's why he's a former world title challenger, Tony Bello. Many people think he won that fight. His resume has a couple of interesting names on it. He's got a win over Roberto Feliciano Bellotti, who has a great record, 30-1 when he fought him, but did not fight that tough of opposition. He does have wins over Danny McIntosh and Edison Miranda. He did go the distance and lost a majority decision against Nathan Cleverly. He also had a win over the tough Oval McKenzie. He steps in with Isaac Chilimba, who's 26 years old. He's ranked number 8 by the light heavyweight, by the computer in the light heavyweight division. BillyCBoxing rankings has him at number 13. He's a former world title challenger. He fought and actually, did he win that fight? Actually, he won the IBO super middleweight champ. Oh, I'm sorry. He got a draw. His record is 20 wins, 9 coming by knockout, 1 loss. Never stopped. He's got 2 draws. His loss came early in his career against a 1-on-1 fighter, but he did get a world title shot in the super middleweight division when he fought Thomas Uzenthusen. He lost. He had the draw in that fight, so he wasn't. Actually, I think I'm totally wrong. It looks like, and I'm not following this right. I obviously didn't mark it the right way. I'm reading that my notes are wrong, but he won the vacant IBO super middleweight title against Michael Bowling back in June of 2010. Then in November of 2010, he fought Thomas Uzenthusen to a draw. Then somewhere along the line, he went up to light heavyweight. So I guess he truly was a former world champion because he beat Bowling. So I'm not sure if he retained his title or if Uzenthusen had the title by then with that split decision draw. But nonetheless, his last fight was with Tony Bello that ended in a controversial split decision draw. Who's going to win this one? Well, you know, I think that it's going to be another really good fight. I think that they're very similar in height and reach. Tony Bello actually has the reach advantage by an inch, and he's got the height advantage by an inch and a half. I think it's going to be tough to beat him at home, although I think Isaac Chilimba is probably the better fighter, but I'm taking Tony Bello in the rematch here. I think that it's his chance to show that he belongs in the top 10, and he better do something this week, at least for my stats. The next fight is Michael Grant against Carlos Takam. This is a heavyweight fight for the world WBF title. Carlos Takam is actually the hometown fighter. He's got a record of 27-1, 21 coming by knockout, never been stopped. He's 32 years old. He's ranked number 31 by the computer, not ranked by the BillyCBoxing rankings. He's 6'2.5", 106 rounds at 75% knockout ratio. His only loss came at the hands of Gregory Toney back in 2009. But really, there's nobody on his resume that stands out, really, with the exception of Francois Botha, who, I mean, you know, when you're saying that he's the best opponent that he fought, and that was back in March of last year, it makes you wonder about him. But he is a tough guy, does have 21 knockouts, 75% knockout ratio. He steps in with Michael Grant. And like I was saying earlier about Michael Grant, you know, when you look at this guy's record, you know, and you go back 10 years or more, this guy fought and beat everybody out there. He did have a 2-year layoff in 2007, returned. 2005, he took a 2-year layoff, and then he's kind of fought some, questionable opposition, took another 2-year layoff after 2008. His last loss, his record is 48 wins, 36 coming by knockout. He's got 4 losses, and of those 4 losses, he was stopped 3 times. His last loss came at the hands of, and 2 of those knockouts, one was by Lennox Lewis and the other Jamal McCline, and the third one was Dominic Gwynn. So you hear those 3 names, they're not exactly world beaters, with the exception of Lennox Lewis. Now, he hasn't fought in a while. He's not rated by the computer or our rankings because of it. He hasn't fought since November of 2011. He's 41 years old, 86-inch reach, 6'7", 272 rounds of pro with a 69% knockout ratio. His last 3 fights were all good ones. He lost a 12-round decision against Tomas Adamek in 2010. He knocked out Ty Fields in 2011, and he won the vacant World Boxing Federation heavyweight title in November of 2011 when he beat Francois Botha via a 12th-round knockout. Who's going to win this fight? I'm picking Michael Grant. The next fight that I'm going to be picking is the Friday Night Fights. Freddie Hernandez going up against Delvin Rodriguez. Freddie Hernandez is a former world title challenger. He's got a record of 30 wins, 20 of them coming by knockout. He's got 4 losses, only stopped 1 time. The computer ranks him at 37. We don't rank him at all. He's 34 years old, 74-inch reach, 5'10", 191 rounds as a pro with a 57% knockout ratio. His last 4 fights, 1 win, 3 losses. The 1 win was against Luis Collazo. The 3 losses, Andre Berto, Urslandi Lara, Demetrius Andrade. Can't blame him for that. He steps in with Delvin Rodriguez, former world title challenger. We got Delvin Rodriguez ranked at number 14 in the junior middleweight division. The computer has him ranked at number 13. He's 33 years old, 27 wins by 15 coming by knockout. He's got 6 losses, only stopped once. He's got 3 draws. He's 5'10" and a half, 70-inch reach, and he's got 213 rounds as a pro with a 42% knockout ratio. His last 5 fights, he's got 2 wins, 1 coming by knockout, 2 losses, and a draw. But a couple of great ones mixed in there. He's got the Ashley Theophane fight, which was a weird fight. He lost that one. He got the draw against Paulie Woloch in one of the greatest fights that we saw here in New York. Then the rematch against Paulie Woloch, he won a 10-round one-sided decision. He lost his world title challenge to Austin Trout via a 12-round decision and stopped George Tananapa in 6. Delvin Rodriguez, you never know which one he's going to show up, but he's working with the first fighter I ever managed in my career, Finelli Felice. We had a great run, and he's doing a great job managing Delvin. I'm picking Connecticut's own Delvin Rodriguez. And finally, the fight of the week has to be the Miguel Kessler-Carl Froch rematch. Miguel Kessler is ranked number 4 by the computer in the super middleweight division. BillyCBoxing has him at number 6. He's a WBA super middleweight champ. His record, 46 wins, 35 coming by knockout. He's got 2 losses, never been stopped. He's 34 years old, 6'1", 74-inch reach, 258 rounds as a pro with a 73% knockout ratio. His last 3 fights, Brian McGee was a 3rd-round knockout win. Alan Green, 4th-round knockout win. And both of those took place in 2012. And his one fight in 2011 was a 6th-round knockout over Medai Budla. He steps in with Carl Froch, one of the guys that has a pretty hot girlfriend in Rachel. He's ranked number 2 in the by the computer, and he's also ranked number 2 in BillyCBoxing rankings. He's the IBF World Super Middleweight Champ. He's got 30 wins, 22 coming by knockout, 2 losses, never been stopped. 6'1", 75-inch reach, 219 rounds as a pro with a 69% knockout ratio. His last 3 fights was a loss against Andre Ward. Then he beat Lucien Boutte and Youssef Mack. This is going to be a good one. The first fight ended with Miguel Kessler winning an unanimous decision. I felt Carl Froch won that fight. The way I see this going, Carl Froch has a good chance of winning. He's also got a good chance of losing, just like he said. He keeps his hands down. I hate that. Miguel Kessler is a guy that can take advantage of that. However, I think he's home. I think Rachel's there. I think his kid is there. I think he is going to win, and I think he's going to win by knockout. I'm picking Carl Froch. So the order of, in no particular order, the fights I'm picking: Delvin Rodriguez Rodriguez over Freddie Hernandez, Carl Froch over Miguel Kessler, Michael Grant over Carlos Takim, Tony Bellew over Isaac Chilimba, Omar Navarez over Felipe Orchuda, and Isuf Kinda over Chris Howard in a good one. That's going to be a good one. So that's what I'm picking. Good luck to everybody in the Billy C Challenge. And now it's time for...
Wake up. It's time for the...
It's too early for a trivia question.
Alrighty then. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia question is being brought to us by the Turning Stone Casino and Resort located in Verona, New York. And their event that's taking place on June 7th. It will be the Friday. That's part of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. So make sure you get some tickets right now because I'm going to be ringside and I want to see you there. You can get tickets really easy by visiting our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the fight poster, which is right there. You can't miss it. It says Turning Stone. It says Showtime. It says click it now and buy a ticket. So do that right now. And drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I will find out where you're sitting, and we'll say hello. Yesterday's It's Too Early for a Trivia question was, name the biggest group of brothers who each retired with more than 100 pro fights under their belt. And all of our trivia questions are supplied by our very own trivia question guru, Henry Haskup. Nobody was getting it right. I gave a pretty big hint 2 days ago. I said there was 4 of them, and finally we got a winner. One Fight Now viewer, Chris Flan, he knew that the answer was the Sand Brothers. And the way it works out is you got George Sand had 101 fights. Dave Sands had 110 fights. Alfie Sands had 147, and Clem Sand had 101. So congratulations to Chris Flan. We'll be sending out his prize. So, hey, that's the deal. The first one that gets it right wins the prize. And speaking of getting it right, here's today's question. So if you're the first one to get it right, by emailing me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll get the prize, and you'll be on your way to stardom. No, I don't know. Well, Chris Flan he's won a few already, and no matter how many you win, I'm still going to ask you for your address. So, here's the question, and I love this question. This is a good one, and it shouldn't be that hard. When was the mandatory 8 count first used in a world heavyweight championship bout? When was the mandatory 8 count first used in a world heavyweight championship bout? If you know that answer, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. When was the mandatory standing 8 count used in the first world heavyweight fight? When was the first... I can't even read it. When was the mandatory 8 count first used in a world heavyweight championship fight? If you know that answer, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. That's right. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099, 845-221-4099. Let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099. Hey, if you call them today, I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. Tell them I said it. 845-221-4099. Check out this day. You know, talk about blast from the past, right? Listen to these two names. On this day, May 24th in 1968, Bob Foster. There's a couple of Hall of Famers right here. On this day, May 24th, 1968, Bob Foster knocks out Dick Tiger in the 4th round to win the world light heavyweight title. And that took place on this day, May 24th in 1968 in New York City. And also on this day in 1901, this is for my friends at Fight Now. On this day in 1901, Ruby Ferns knocks out Matthysse in the 10th round to win the world welterweight title, and it took place in Toronto, Canada. So that's for my Fight Now people. I wanted to throw them a bone, and that's what took place on this day back in 1901 and 1968. And, I got one more thing to say. Make sure you tune in Monday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel of Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel line. If it's that simple, pick up the phone and call. Only info can be found on our website, www.fightnow.com. See you all Monday. Ciao, baby.